Hey there, welcome to my beautiful Unschool life. I'm Erin. I run a homeschool in Ontario, Canada, and I like to make videos about the dirty underbelly of homeschooling. You're not gonna get that immaculately beautiful, minimalist White House, perfectly dressed kids with their perfect hair sitting at the table, perfectly still, filling out their notebooks. There's none of that here. I show you the real, the dirty, the nitty-gritty of what it's like to home educate your kids. So thanks for joining us. So in the morning, before I open this door, the ducks go in circles around their feeder, and it like turns into musical chairs. Whenever I open the door, the duck closest gets to go out first. And they think it's the greatest game. And then they practice flying. Now Prima's doing his dance for Tiny. This is his mating dance. And just kicks out a leg and a wing. There, like that. He kicks out his leg and his wing. So the girls and I had a very stressful day yesterday. Lots of anxiety. I'm making a whole nother video about that, so you'll get a chance to learn about it. So today we're just taking it easy day. Bethany's watching a little bit of TV, and Abby's playing with her toys. So I'm sitting here in my room, hiding from my family, trying to edit some footage while the girls' father gets them ready for bed. The girls are wired tonight. They're like fast zombies. That's how I explained them to a friend. So they're like brain dead and mindless, but they're bouncing off the walls. Completely insane. And I overheard their father saying to them, "You're not listening to me." How many times do parents say that in the average week? 75, I don't know. You're not listening to me. But here's what I want to talk about with this, you're not listening to me. Well, it's wrong. I mean, sure, sometimes they're not listening to you. But most of the time, when you say, you're not listening to me, what you mean is, you're not doing what I tell you to do. They can hear you. They just either don't like what you're saying, or they know that you won't accept their answer. So they're not going to answer, because if they answer the way they want to answer, you're going to shut them down. It's not that they're not listening, it's that they don't want to do the thing that you want them to do. The trick is to get them to want to do the thing that you want them to do. How do you get your kids to want to do something? There's basically four things. I'm gonna name them in like least healthy to most healthy. The least healthy way is with fear. Fear of punishment. You can give them a timeout. You can take away their privileges. You can use physical violence. You can use emotional violence. That is really our society's go-to when it comes to disciplining children. It's fear. I don't want to do that. Of course I do sometimes because I'm tired. And fear is the one that I go to when I'm losing my temper. Slightly better than fear is anticipation of reward, bribery. So again, it's not the healthiest way of motivating your children because it's still external. You really don't want to rely exclusively on external motivation to get your kids to do stuff, because they're not learning anything. They're just doing what you want them to do. And that's fine sometimes, because sometimes I just don't have the energy to make everything a learning experience. When I'm on my game, then I use, okay, there's got to be a better word for this, but tricking them into doing what you want to do by turning it into a game. Again, it's not unhealthy. It's not teaching them any bad habits. It's not teaching them to seek to do things because they want to please other people. It's not extrinsic. It's just, let's make it fun. And if we do it, it's fun. Now, the gold standard, the number one ideal, best, theoretically healthiest way of motivating your children to want to do the thing that you want them to do is by reasoning with them, by explaining natural consequences. This one's a tricky one because very few of us were raised this way. Very rarely is this type of parenting modeled. It's really tricky. And it's also very hard with younger kids. It requires a certain level of communication skills. It requires a certain level of ability to reason. It requires children to sort of think abstractly about other people's feelings and about, the world around them. But this is where you want to work towards, because this is what makes your children responsible citizens. Doing things because it's the right thing to do, because it makes sense, is what makes your children successful in life and responsible citizens. The great example people always give is, what if a kid's running out into the middle of the street? You have to teach them that there's consequences to that. And so they say that that's a reason to spank a child. That teaches the child, if I run out in the middle of the street, a person will spank me. It doesn't teach them what actually happens if you run out in the middle of the street. So if if that's the lesson they're learning, then they think it's okay to run out in the middle of the street as long as no authority figure is watching me. So that's a problematic lesson. If you don't go out into the street, I'll give you candy. If the kid doesn't want candy, they're gonna run out into the street. Come on, play over here. Let's play over here, to try and get your kid from running into the street. That's all right. That's pretty good. It gets your kid out of danger and it doesn't teach them harmful lessons. But ideally, you want your kid to know that it's dangerous to run out into the middle of the street. But the thing is, if you use punishment to try and get your kid to do what you want, don't beat yourself up over it. Try not to. Make it your best intention to use the best parenting techniques. But be compassionate with yourself when you can't. Because this is hard. This is the hardest job. I have done hard things. I know hard things. This is harder than anything else. So don't be mean to yourself when you struggle. Forgive yourself when you have a hard day. And you know what? The most important thing about forgiving yourself when you have a hard day is that you're modeling to your children that they can forgive themselves when they make mistakes. And so my children will hopefully be more resilient, because everyone makes mistakes. But if we can't get up again after our mistake, that's when we fail. So to me, that's the takeaway. So the girls planted these seeds the other day, and we're watching them reach toward the sun. This morning we turned them around so they were reaching away from the sun. And it's only been a couple of hours and already they've turned back to face the sun. Which is pretty cool, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love my snap peas.
Yeah, your snap peas are looking really good. So what are we making here, Bethany?
Nebula.
Yeah. What is a nebula?
It's a star being born. It's the prettiest thing in the whole world.
The prettiest thing in the world?
Well, the prettiest thing ever. It's like the prettiest thing in space.
Yeah.
And a star dying is kind of pretty too.
Yeah.
It does kind of look like a marshmallow. Yes.
Don't eat it! Ew! Gross.
There. I do this.
So Bethany has invented this very cool game where she makes a mailbox. This is Bethany's mailbox. And she even made me a mailbox. There's my mailbox. And inside, there's mail. Let's see what we have. Oh my goodness. There's all sorts of stuff in there. So this post office game that the girls invented went on into the next day, and it got even more elaborate because they added parcel delivery to the system, which was really cute. I love when they invent games like this because this is what play is for, rehearsing real life. And so you have to let them play this kind of thing. Unfortunately, it made a huge mess, and I've got 7 million tiny little pieces of paper with hearts colored on them all over the house. But it was a learning experience, so we were all right with that. And the last thing, I want to apologize for how few and far between my videos are and how short they are lately. We've got something really big in the works, and it's keeping us very busy. You'll find out in about a week what that's all about. So I'll keep you posted, and thanks for hanging out with us.